life feels more like a losing battle than something worth dying for. Grab your gear and come on a quest with your band of brothers who will serve as the guides in what we call the masculine journey. The masculine journey starts here now.
We are questing today without Sam. We're Samless in Seattle, a place you never want to be when you have to be talking about foundations. And today's foundation is very Sam foundational. So that's our opportunity. Is unfortunately Sam's out under the weather. We miss him a lot. But this particular subject matter, Sam has gleaned so much in his life out of it, helps us all interpret. You know, God gives us an interpretation that's a lot different than the world would. And this particular area of our lives, it's really helpful to have a little bit different look on this. And so, Andy, we're doing these foundations, and so this was your brainchild.
So foundations, to me, usually is just the contents of the Wild at Heart book. But there's a lot the Wild Heart team offers up, and this is something that came from the Restoration of the Heart, I believe it is. I think it was like a conference that they did, and if you listen to them, you'll hear them talk about things. But there's an idea that for spiritual growth, sometimes God has to burn some things down in us. He has to disrupt us and dismantle us, and then it goes on to.
We don't do that. No, going ahead today is disrupting.
All right, we'll leave it at that.
We're not. Next week, Sam will hopefully be with us to get the second part of this particular foundation. And the idea of the foundations obviously all come out of the Bible, because Jesus is the rock, and it's on his solid ground we stand. So I want you to think about a passage that maybe you hadn't thought about in this light. Clearly, Jesus talked about being pruned, right? You might remember there's this thing about we are the branches and he has his clippers, and maybe you've had a chance to get a good clipping at one time or another in your life. I know I sure have. And Danny, you certainly, even recently, right?
Yeah, it's called 2025.
Yeah, it's 2025, the year. But there may be a passage in the Old Testament you hadn't thought about in this angle. It's really, really beautiful if you begin to think about that. In Isaiah 11 is a fascinating, unbelievably wonderful holy ground passage that you might say, out of this branch will come, right, from the root of Jesse, that will be, right, anointed with the seven spirits of God, wisdom, understanding, counsel, might, giving you this picture of the Messiah. It's beautiful. Isaiah chapter 11. But it leads up to Isaiah chapter 12. It just works like that. I don't know. But when you read the first verse of Isaiah chapter 12, it says this: "And in that day you shall say, O Lord, I will praise you that thou wast angry with me." I will leave that there for y'all to go look at Isaiah 12 and think about what you talked about was, I will praise you that you were angry with me. And of course, if you think about that from your salvation point of view, right, you're just, getting back to the basic of basics. Had God not poured his wrath upon his son, coming out of Isaiah 11 into Isaiah 12, if he had not been angry on his son, and then none of us would have the blood of Christ. But nonetheless, like all scripture, it's on levels. So there's a level of that yes, that's a messianic picture, but it's also a picture of what we're talking about today, which is to get the rug pulled out from underneath you. And so I'm going to go with Darren's clip, because Darren...
Real quick, I wanted to add something.
No, you're not loud. I said, no, I'm just kidding.
You've been disrupted.
I wanted to make a point there that Robbie kind of disrupted me there, is that I was making reference, and I do make a reference to the Wild at Heart a lot of times, because there's things in the Bible that they do a good job of making clearer than I did in my own unlearned self, ignorant self. And it is to get it, you look at those deeper story elements of the Bible, what the Bible is truly saying. And so this idea, though, if you look at disruption and dismantling, you see it anytime God did anything with one of his people, he did this. If you look at Moses, when he got put on the backside of the desert, whenever he disobeyed, and when you see it with Joseph and, going in Potiphar's house and doing all that stuff in the long time that he had to wait, he was disrupted for sure when he got thrown into the, into the hole or whatever. But I just wanted to make that point. Obviously, all this goes back to the Bible. Just sometimes good teachers, good teaching helps pull this out in it. And then whenever you get it, when you're like, oh, you get revelation on it, then you want to share that. But that's what we're doing here is with this idea.
Right. And Mandy,
Right.
You said it well.
Yeah.
That foundationally, this ministry was birthed out of Wild at Heart and the book Wild at Heart, which is fundamentally, absolutely all scripture. John Eldridge has one of the most amazing relationships with Christ you will ever experience. And so I just don't want,
you're right.
And you don't want anybody to see that. No, we're not dreaming this stuff up. We're not, that it's very scriptural based, but along those lines, Darren, go for it.
Well, this first clip we're going to hear is from the movie McFarland, and it's a true story of a guy who's an amazing coach, by all accounts, a pretty good dad and a pretty good husband, but he gets sideways with some players' parents. He gets sideways with a school board member. He gets sideways again, and he ends up getting fired from 3 different jobs in a fairly short period of time. And again, it's a true story. He finds himself in East LA at McFarland High School, and he is pretty much out of options, and he is finding himself and his wife kind of pushing him towards this, taking a job that is much, much underneath what his qualifications are. But it's the beginning of him beginning to grasp, I need to humble myself and submit to whatever it is that's going on here. And you'll kind of get the introduction to that.
Jim White, Principal Canelo, or decaffeinated. Come on. I'm supposed to bleed a rock with a budget, handle the kids and their petty vendettas, and quit smoking. Who am I, Superman? What happened? Oh, some kid called his little sister a... Oh, I'm not going to repeat what he said, but it explains why she's pregnant. Sit down. Welcome to McFarland. I was surprised that a man like you would want to come here. But then I read your file. Up in St. Paul, you were fired for verbally abusing your players.
I don't use profanity. I was just trying to motivate some boys who didn't know the value of hard work.
And fight with the chairman of the school board?
Difference of opinion.
And this latest incident. You want to tell me about that?
I lost my temper. Should never have happened.
What are the chances of it happening again?
It's not going to happen again.
Pleased to hear it. Because you're running out of options, Mr. White. Come in, Coach. Coach White, Coach Jenks. This is your new overqualified assistant.
Is that right? The name's White?
Yep.
So I'm probably the only one here that's ever found himself in that situation of taking a job that was seemingly less than what I felt qualified to do, or something like that. And I say that facetiously because I know these guys in this room, and I know bukus of well-educated, good-hearted pastors who could preach circles around most other pastors, and yet find themselves on the outs and find themselves having to figure out what's God doing. There's some disruption here that we didn't ask for, and Harold earlier, and he'll talk about it a little bit later, said there's been a couple of times in his life he's been disrupted. And it's hard for me to believe that in the 127 years that he's been alive, but God has disrupted me at least a million times. I jokingly said I call that Tuesday, and it's fairly regularly, and I'm thankful that it's fairly regularly, but I do get tired of it. So it's, you would think one would learn, but that disruption happens because he's got to stop our agenda. That's the reality, right? Adam had an agenda. Satan had an agenda. Everybody, Nebuchadnezzar had an agenda. All of these people have had agendas along the way, and God comes in and disrupts that agenda because he has a better agenda, but we don't want that. We just want what we have, and we want to keep going on the track we were going on. And so God comes in to do some disrupting. And then once we've submitted to that disruption, then the second half of the equation, the dismantling, begins to happen, where he's beginning to dismantle the false self that we've been living under, the poser that we've been living under. And he's getting to the root of how we ended up on this straight agenda to begin with.
Right. So in the case of McFarland, that's before he ever met this principal, he'd been disrupted.
Oh, yeah.
Fired. And now he's kind of getting taken apart.
Mm-hmm.
Because to be an assistant to this other coach is like, and the other coach is a piece of work, I'm telling you.
Yeah, he is. And they battle back and forth a lot. But, Coach Jinks figures out very quickly, I'm just going to need to submit to this, whatever's happening, and let it play out. And it does, and it plays out beautifully, but not without major disruptions and more dismantling along the way.
It did. Oh, you think there's 1 minute left before the break? Is what you're saying. I thought you had something you wanted to say.
I've got that on good information.
He was trying to disrupt you.
I thought he was saying he was number one. No, well, you're more spiritual than that. You were just pointing to God.
That's right.
I like that. So I know we don't have time to get into all of your story here, but we can set up the cliffhanger. So go ahead. We know you said this has happened many times in your 250 years.
He just doubled.
Well, the first time it happened is I had been sailing along as a kid in high school and going on into college with the idea that I was going to be a pilot in the Navy. And I even passed the written exam for aviation officer candidate school. And 2 weeks later, a guy that dated
We got to go to a break. We're going to have to bring it all back when we come
I'll
back.
finish later.
Contest rules for the Truth Network. Prizes won are not transferable, redeemable for cash, or exchangeable for any other purpose.
There was 1
All
minute.
prizes must be
I got it now.
within 30 days of winning.
That's what I'm talking about.
One thing.
Truth broadcast will be any 30-day period. The rest of our
Here's a
under the About Us link
uh,
at our website,
hosting tip
truthnetwork.com.
that I would share with almost any host.
To the Truth Network.
Don't ever even think about the clock.
Somewhere there's a river rushing through the
Don't tell me what
while
time.
someone rushes
By
through the
showing
dirt.
that, I
There's a
don't,
mountain looking up at the sky while someone looks down at
because the
their
best thing that can happen is the show to go into the break without somebody saying, well, we're going to come to a break here. You don't want to hear that through the audience.
waiting for
You want
someone
the show
just
to
like
flow,
you.
and then at the
First
point in
week
time that
was
you
a
cut him
great
off in
National
that-
forests and 20 grasslands.
then the
And to learn
show.
more,
So
visit National Forest
again,
or
I appreciate
National
that.
Forest
Good
Foundation.
producers like Keith is. And
Try to give people more questions.
they
What are
provide
you gonna say
that.
next?
So we left our hero Harold. He was trusting that he someday could take on the Red Baron himself with his stop with camel. You were going to be a fighter pilot, and getting those machine guns through the propeller like that
Yeah.
always amazed me. I'm just saying,
Good
how did they
engineering.
not shoot off the propeller?
Good engineering. So anyway, back
Moving right along.
back to me.
Just ignore everybody here. You just have to move on.
So I was sailing along, and all of a sudden, this fellow that ate at the boarding house where I worked tricked me into a blind date with his sister, within 6 weeks, we're engaged to be married. And I'm told that she cannot be married to a pilot in the Navy. So I drop out of school and join the Air National Guard and go off to basic training. Scared to death of what I'm going to try to do to earn a living because I'm no longer going to be a pilot in the Navy. I got to compete for a job. And up to that point in my school career, I had not cared much about grades. So my grades were passable, but nothing to get excited about. And a lot of the guys graduating in my curriculum went into career fields that I couldn't see me being happy doing. But as luck would have it, and as God provided, when I got back to school in the fall after basic training, I had a class in computer programming. And just like the first time I saw Jan, when I saw computer programming, it's like, oh yeah, that's me. That's me.
It's more of a, oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And
Maybe.
I mean, let's.
so I had a career that didn't involve any jet planes, but I was flying computers. So that was the first major disruption. We moved to Columbus, Mississippi, and I was working there for like 8 years. I expected that I would be in Columbus, Mississippi as long as I was living, but God saw fit to disrupt that. And consequently, I ended up in Moxville, North Carolina. Great change in my life. It didn't seem so when the opportunity first presented itself, but looking back in hindsight, it's great. Had that not happened, I wouldn't be here with you guys.
That's right. When he came to Moxville, he said, "Oh,
Oh yeah.
Just think about how many jokes we'd be missing if Harold were a part of things.
oh, it would be." So moving along, just a spectacular clip. I think. Well, everybody has great ones, but Andy, yours is not necessarily a place that most guys are very comfortable. Within our families, we are often disrupted in our places of comfort.
Yep. So this clip is from Trouble with a Curve, and you got Gus and Mickey. Gus is an old crotchety baseball scout that has done that for many years. And
Clint Eastwood, by the way.
Clint Eastwood, yeah, you'll definitely hear that. And Amy Adams is Mickey, and it's his daughter who's kind of gotten abandoned through his career. And there's reasons for it. She doesn't understand it, and I'll talk about that after we play the clip. But you just see here a lot of hurt. She's been going to therapy, and it has to do with this idea of a couple different things. One of them, she was abandoned by him. He tried to keep her out of the field and the roughness of baseball and all of that. But then also they really haven't, even at the time that, she's around him again, they haven't connected emotionally. And so let's play the clip and we'll talk about it. Be back.
Therapy. I've been going since college, a long time. I needed to talk to someone to help me deal with what left me.
I see something wrong here.
Needed to understand why after Mom died, you took a 6-year-old to live with an uncle that she barely knew, and you left her there for a year, and you didn't even call, not once.
We came here to watch baseball. We didn't come here to
Talk. I know everything is okay as long as we don't talk, but there's no TV and there's no game on, so it's just you and me. So
I need to check here.
And then you did it again. I had you until I was 13, until you sent me away to boarding school, and then nothing. Then you were just gone. Middle school, high school, college, nothing. And for a long time, I thought that I had done something wrong, and that's why you left. But then I figured out that's just how you wanted it. And so I acted like it was okay because I didn't want you to know how bad it hurt.
It's not the time or the place to be talking
Are you kidding? There's never a time or place.
What are you doing anyway? Why did you start all this?
amazing.
That's not what I wanted for my kid.
Well, I guess what I wanted didn't matter.
You don't even like baseball.
I love baseball. You know I love it. I never even wanted to be a lawyer. I did that for you so that you would be happy with me and that you would approve of me and maybe you'd keep me around.
I did what I felt was right. I just didn't want you to have life in the cheap seats.
They were
That's
the
all.
cheap seats. Spending every waking moment with my dad watching baseball, eating food that was no good for me, playing pool, staying up too late. Those were the best seats in the house.
Wow. So, just that story, I mean, there's some of my story that's actually in that, not all of it, but you know, why he kind of abandoned her.
Now you can't get into the dismantling. I mean, to the next two
No,
words.
we won't.
Don't do it.
I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not. But what was happening there was she just, you know, she was communicating her heart, and that was very disrupting to him. But she didn't know the full story either, in the fact that he had done all this stuff to protect her. While she was at the baseball field, there was a man about to abuse her, and he came up on him, and he took care of business, and he sent her away. And that was very.
Now, let's see. Just to interrupt you because it's kind of fun.
Yeah. You're doing a good job.
I see Sam do it all the time. It's like, let me know if it's fun. No. I think that the obvious thing we all do. Everybody's in pain over that scene. If you're sitting there, you're in pain. If you have a daughter, I assure you, you're in pain over that scene. I mean, there's tears in my eyes. I don't know about anybody else. So what do you want to do? You want to get everybody out of pain. So you want to tell them that it all gets, there's more to the story. No, right now, there's no more to the story.
Right. So
right now, right this very second, the pain is there to point you.
Right. That is the disruptor for sure. If not, you would not be disrupted.
Right.
It's got to be uncomfortable. These disruptions we talk about, to even get to dismantling, there has to be some pain associated with it, or you're not going to change your behavior. And it was painful. He was hearing all her complaints, and he just wanted to move on. He just kind of like, I want to move on there. You just kind of want to move on from that because it is painful. But it was, and again, part of the story was she didn't fully understand, and it helped her understand a bit more. But still, he needed to be disrupted, and he was trying to avoid it everything he could. Let's not talk about it. You know, you didn't even like baseball anyway. A total trying to deflect. No, I really did like baseball. I like being with you. And that just pushed in more to that disruption, to where he was like, oh, maybe she really did want more. Or maybe, and then that's where he has to go and kind of deflect or kind of say, well, this is the reason. The point is, though, it only positions you to go on to the other stages, but you really have to be in these, as you said, these painful moments to be disrupted, to where you evaluate what you did, you evaluate your actions, you evaluate, the choices that you've made that have impacted other people, and it is hurtful. I mean, it was hurtful whenever, I had my wife telling me about my daughter and how I wasn't connecting with her emotionally when she was in college, and she was living with me, so I was physically there. My situation, I didn't have my dad in my adolescence and stuff, and that hurt a lot. And I wanted to make sure I was there, and I was physically, but I had struggled emotionally to be there for her, to be able to connect and have that conversation. That's where I was saying it was part of my story in there. But it was very disrupting whenever that began to happen, because we grew up tight. It was like that whole thing about as a kid around the baseball field. I take her with me, whether she liked it or not. I told the guys I watched enough baseball to be a baseball scout, and we would go to the major league games and just had a blast doing it. But there was a time and a season for that, and then as kids mature, they're not the same. They're the same person, but they're going through their experiences. Sometimes you don't know how to connect, but again, she took the time or felt it need to be, and it was disrupting. And again, when I first heard it, I wanted to avoid it. I didn't want to take responsibility, but I wasn't getting anywhere, and I probably stayed there probably a year at least. And then I began to see it, and then God in how He fathered me, He began to show me kind of in my dad and not being there. And as he fathered me through that back to him, it allowed me to be him to open me up to that disruption to where I was able to go on and take those next steps. But there was disruption and dismantling.
Yeah, and often, you know, for me personally, with my own daughters,
Yeah.
you know, I have to come to the place where I see that I really did not want that.
Yeah.
I didn't want I mean, that's my own inner cesspool. I'm getting a good whiff of it and it stinks.
Yep.
Okay. If I'd wanted it bad enough, I'd have done something about it. And the truth is that the painful thing is the sin is really in there.
Yeah.
And it's really in me. And having that mirror held up is beautiful there.
No, it's just, I totally agree with you two and have dealt with that with my daughter, Denisha, and you guys know her. She's, you know, helped you at a boot camp.
Right.
It's hard though, even at, you know, years later, it's hard. And you have to be willing to submit to that.
And so it will be hard if you come to a boot camp. It will be, but it will be.
It may feel like Groundhog Day where you're disrupted
Yes.
repetitively, you know?
You got to come. It's right there. Go to masculinejourney.org coming up November 20th through the 23rd. Oh, we would love to see you there. It will be worth it. We hope that God will disrupt us and dismantle us, because it say, I was glad you were angry with me so that I could get some stuff straight. Pretty cool. Isaiah 12, take a look.
If I'm a listener, I'm so depressed now. I'm not listening.
You're
I know, we gotta tell the rest of them.
There's a purpose for it.
There's no healing. There's no restoring.
I was sworn off that. I had to,
I mean, we're just swimming around in the cesspool.
there's,
We don't know how to get out
That's
now.
there's no.
Tune in next week. Same bad time, same bad time.
That's right. We'll bring you some more great news.
Yeah.
next week.
Yeah. Were you feeling good when you came into this show? Well, that's helped you with
Despair and
that.
agony on that.
That's right.
They're listening to us online right now.
Inflation and depression.
We have a visitor.
We have a visitor?
Is this where you get the 2 hot dogs for free?
Yeah.
It is.
Look who's
Good
here.
to see you.
Hello, Dennis, man. It's great to see you. That is absolutely great to see you. For those who don't know, this is,
Coon over there?
It is. If I'd have known you were wearing your vice grip stuff, I would have worn mine.
Hey,
There you
how you doing, man?
definitely a masculine journey guy from way back and one of the personalities on WBFJ. Your
Good to see you.
family.
Days I have a personality.
Good to
Good
see
to see
you.
you, man.
It is good to see you. Dennis. You know,
That's
good to
it.
hear
You might come by.
Yeah, I've been threatening for 2 years, so I thought it was about time I took him on it.
You got you off the air long enough to come see you.
That's right. Man, a lot of things have changed in here.
Oh yeah, we're not in the same system at all. We once were.
Yeah.
Different. You used to sit this way, face that.
Yeah, I remember that.
That is great
Yeah,
to
it
see
is.
you.
Yeah, the conference room used to be
Sam
right there.
has COVID. So
Yeah, what?
Sam has COVID,
Oh, no.
so he bailed.
Oh, wow. Where did you find that?
We just lying to us. He just wanted out.
Yeah,
I don't.
he picks a topic and then.
Takes off.
No shows, yeah.
Great.
His fever's not too bad, but he's got the congestion and stuff.
I'm gonna move from car wash.
Yeah. I was the guy trying to dance. It's really bad.
Yeah, no, you did all right.
Is it okay?
Yeah.
Do you know the
Why are you
date?
guys
with the
laughing
lights
at me?
The date for what?
No, I'll tell you.
Are you gonna be at the fair again this year?
Yes, sir.
Oh, that's right. That's
See
this
ya.
month.
All day, every day.
Yeah.
Oh, it's this month.
October. This year's like October 2nd or 3rd start, I think. So,
I don't think we'll be there. I haven't heard anything about it.
Oh, y'all know?
we live there, as you know.
Yeah.
I know you do.
We live
If you guys have ever been to the fair, the classic fair, whatever,
in Carolina.
Carolina Classic, it's the gazebo there the WBFJ, his radio station, has. It's easy to find.
7A to 11P every day.
It's right there near where you get all the food vendors, not the ones that are in the buildings, the local company places, and then right there where you go up the Midway.
And this man, you get most people that come through there have never heard contemporary Christian music, so it's like
really,
you get to they gotta hear it. They gotta walk by to go to the Midway. So
that's cool.
It's a lot of fun.
So Dennis,
a lot of work.
And I go back like to the
800 years.
Yeah, when I was at Galloway Buick in Greensboro, long before I ever even came to Winston, he was my rep with what channel was it? TV?
So that from Y. I was at PAX TV. I was at 45 first. So I don't remember which it was when I called on you. It was one of those three.
And then when I came to work here in 2008, he was the weatherman.
Yeah.
And Tom Booth's assistant doing the morning show.
May he rest in peace. My brother.
Yes.
I had no idea he
I'm
had
sure he
cancer.
is resting.
When they moved to the beach, I kind of lost touch with him.
Yeah, you even stayed with him a while, didn't you, at some point?
They let me stay there a few nights. They let me stay there the first night before I went into my apartment coming out of the mission. Because we had the boot camp that weekend. Because Jim came and picked me up at the station. Took me. What happened there? So yeah, there you are.
And then went to BFJ. Where have you been?
8.5
You've been there
years.
now, 8.5.
Longest I've ever worked anywhere. Wow. Since WBFJ. I'm grateful for it.
Is Phil still? Is he still doing taxes and stuff?
He
Is he
is.
still accounting?
He is.
Tell him I said
He
hello.
keeps saying this will be his last year.
This is a guy I used to go to church with years ago. He owns WBFJ in a tax place or accounting place. I drove by there the other day.
Never met anyone like him.
He's a good guy. All there.
Darren, what have you been up to, man?
Just being disrupted and dismantled.
So you have
That's
a
no copy. Nothing more.
No, that was it.
Yeah.
Well,
That was
like
start topic. Yeah. No
just-
improvements from that.
No, just living up in King, developing property and doing all kinds of goofy things.
I
Hanging
came
out with
across
these guys every
came
night.
across a picture the other day. I have a slideshow I have at home with all these photos that I've saved, and it was you with the we took the BFJ staff. It was like for a day or a weekend energized thing.
Yeah, we took them up to the lake and took them
Yeah.
skiing and stuff.
Picture came across, and I was like, "Oh, that's Derek."
Yeah.
you were working with Andy?
Yeah, I was helping him a little bit then, just because I had a truck and was capable of pulling a trailer. And he said, "Do you know how to drive a boat?" And I accidentally said yes.
Yeah.
So,
We got Cheryl over there.
Yeah, that he.
You gonna talk? We got
No,
Cheryl over there.
no.
No, you want to talk?
Yeah.
Okay.
He gets enough of that.
I get enough of that.
So I don't know if you, but now we do two shows. We do the regular radio show.
Yeah.
And then a podcast that's called After Hours. So
So you're doing that?
in
Yeah.
about 3 minutes. Yeah.
Okay.
So feel free to join if you want. We're talking about one of Sam's favorite topics that he bailed on us.
What's the topic?
Disrupt, dismantle, restore, and what is it?
Oh, you can't
Heal.
tell us. We don't know until next
Just-
week.
God's
I'm not
disruption,
gonna go there.
dismantling, healing.
We don't. We have no idea because we had to block that out of our brain.
I'm telling you, there's probably people out there slitting their throats right now.
There's so all God wants to do is disrupt and dismantle.
Man, I wanted to listen to the show and get pumped up. Like a flat tire.
I need counseling now. We
They
just
said it was going to
disrupted
be
them
good news
and
on
got
this
them into
channel.
counseling. There you go.
Yeah,
There's the
like
redemption.
finished with this whole.
No, that's okay. I'd rather listen. Get good opportunity to listen.
That means you're up there too, because you didn't get a chance to talk. I saw you sitting, and I was.
Come on, T.
Is that what you were doing?
Yes, yeah, I'm going to you.
Andy.
You're the. I imagine you've been disrupted.
Sorry, I do need to watch that. I don't mean to do that. The assumption is everything we're doing is biblical, but you know, when you just mention that book, it's like, you know, you can treat books and ministries and stuff like the Bible instead of.
Well, yeah. And that,
When we're doing it, if you're doing it
hated.
after hours, you're not talking to the Truth Network.
Yeah.
If you're talking to the Truth Net, if you're talking to that audience,
yeah,
and they don't sense something biblical,
yeah,
and then it's like the
you got to. It's good to qualify it. I'm glad you. I'm glad you disrupted.
I did enjoy the Sop with Camel. I can't believe that came to my mind.
I couldn't believe it either. It's like, not in a million years would I have come up with that, but that is wonderful.
To be a fighter pilot.
Are we in our final minute?
Oh, we're about to.
You were here last time, right? Rodney, you want to jump in?
Oh, we like with some Rodney. I got to sit next to him all day yesterday in the sun.
We chatted a ton.
We were disrupted and dismantled by many a dove.
Not enough.
I was in that little lonesome dove.
Coming to you from an entrenched barricade deep in the heart of central North Carolina. Masculine Journey After Hours. A time to go deeper and be more transparent on the topic covered on this week's broadcast. So sit back and join us on this adventure. The Masculine Journey After Hours starts here now.
Yes, it does, and we're we're hoping at the end of this show that you can feel as disrupted and dismantled as we did after the last show. Because this is our chance to go deeper. And since Sam isn't here to guide us and lead us in a way of dismantling and disrupting, we're here. And Grant, you look like you want to chime in early.
We're now educated.
Yeah, there you go. We're working on it. And so we're working on these foundations, Andy. And so, foundationally speaking, what are the foundations?
It's core beliefs that we believe as a ministry. Sometimes you see on a website for a church or whatever, you got their core beliefs. It's things that we've delved in scripturally, but also some ideas that are there scripturally that they're, I think, revelation from God of just going deeper into a particular topic. And the Bible doesn't come out and say there's disruption and dismantling, but you obviously see it in people's lives and where God had to stop them. They were going one way. He stopped them. They put a donkey in front of them or whatever it took. He got them to stop, dismantle kind of their ideas of where they were going. So that's just an idea of a foundation that we kind of base the ministry on, that you like I said, you may not see it in the Bible as that, but that's exactly what it is. And we're just talking about how it impacts our life.
Yeah, and speaking of the Bible, there's a Mount Airy version.
There is.
We have one of the world's leading experts on right here with us, and so
I got you.
It's one thing to disrupt, Mayberry. It's one thing to disrupt Andy. It's another thing to disrupt, Barney. But oh my goodness, when you start to disrupt Opie,
now you mess with the redheaded kid, it's bad.
Yeah,
this is bad.
Yeah.
So, yeah, my clip is from the Andy Griffith Show, and listen much, you'll know I love the Andy Griffith Show, and probably loves to give me a hard time about it. But this is actually the first episode of the Andy Griffith Show, other than the pilot, and
which had Danny Thompson.
It did,
yeah,
it's from the Danny Thomas Show. Anyway, before they disrupted that and made their own show, but. This is where Opie's life gets just turned upside down. And because the maid that he loved, the housekeeper that he loved, and all this stuff was getting married and moving out. it was going to be over with, and Aunt B was coming. And so the whole episode is about Aunt B trying to move into the role, and she's just different than Rose was. She can't do what Rose did. She can't hunt frogs, play ball, the whole line part, the important stuff in life. And Opie's just upset, and he's doing everything he can to get rid of her. But what we're going to hear is toward the end where Opie has a change of heart, and it's because he feels like Aunt B's not going to survive without him. And we play that, and then I'll talk about it on the other side.
No, Andy, it's much better this way. Oh, not that I wouldn't give anything to do the things he likes to do, play baseball and fish and all, but well, he's a very smart little boy. I couldn't fool him. And Andy, he's going through a very, very hard time. I think we better get going.
I'll go.
Opie, what's wrong?
You mean it, Opie?
Sure.
What changed your mind?
If she goes, we'll happen to her. She doesn't know how to do anything.
I guess that's right. Woman don't know how to do important things like that. Why she'd just be lost.
So that's what she's got to say. Go and teach him to her. You need me.
So often, our lives, however it comes, we've talked about it a lot per show, and now that, things come in your life and it just turns your world upside down. And I've been jokingly talking about, 2025 has turned my life upside down, and the saga continues. But God has a plan and a purpose with everything. In March, we were diagnosed with stage 4 appendix cancer. And, talk about putting a damper on your plans and not knowing which way to go and what to do. And, your world feels like it's upside down and just don't know how to put the pieces together. But I think what I'm learning is, we did a show a while back, and Sam kind of discredited a phrase I'd used for years that God won't put more on you than you can handle, which is not correct. Because if he didn't put more or allow more than you can handle, you would never need him. And so the disruptions and the thing, well-meaning people say, well, you just got to have more faith, or you got to have this, or you got to have that. And I think what I'm understanding is that when your body goes into crisis mode, I think it was by divine design that when you feel overwhelmed, which I have much this week, with different, side effects of the stuff that's supposed to help you, which actually will kill you at some point. And all that stuff is that, that's designed to point you to him. When it's disrupted and it's dismantled and you go, I don't know what to do, but he does. And to me, that's what I believe is, when you have a crisis of faith is what people call it or whatever. Maybe it's not really a crisis of faith. It's just that your faith and your inner man is trying to direct you toward where the true help is. Because I will try to fix it. I'll be like Opie. I got a teacher. If you can't hunt frogs, I don't know what you're going to do. And, everybody likes frog legs, I guess. But that's the kind of reality that I think I'm learning in this, is that it's okay. It's okay to come apart every now and then because God can put me back together.
That's the dismantle part. So, Terry,
Hello.
been waiting all show
Hello.
to get your viewpoint on.
I hope my viewpoint is you guys' viewpoint. I'm hearing you guys, and disruption and dismantle. But and I shared with you guys a couple of weeks back. And what I'm saying is, like, have you ever felt, or do you feel sometimes that you are the reason of the disruption? In other words, God placed you here because that's your job right now.
Oh yeah,
And it's crazy.
It
And it's just as uncomfortable as it is being like you, that single dad trying to figure out what works for your daughter. It's just that uncomfortable. You know, just like you don't want to do anything to hurt your daughters. You know, I don't want to do anything to hurt the people I love. But when God placed you in the middle of the stream and say, hey, you stay here because this is what I want you to do. He said, come on, God. Trick somebody else. No, I'm trying to make the thing work.
That's perfect segue from my clip. If I do say so, it just makes sense. Okay, to quote a great man, Sam.
I was just thinking.
Whenever he uses his own clip, usually first, you know, just to throw that little barb in there. No, actually, quite often he goes last, but nonetheless, this is from a movie that we looked up. It was from 1986 called Short Circuit, and it is about a delightful computer robot by the name of Number 5. And Number 5 is fully capable of defending the United States of America with lasers and all sorts of other wonderful weaponry. However, it got struck by lightning, and it actually, in the movie, the miracle of movies, became alive, actually a live robot. And it dismantles a young lady's name by the name of the young lady's life by the name of Stephanie, and she is trying to deal with this crazy robot that is trying to understand what is going on with itself within its programming, but at the same time trying to understand life and where it's headed, because it's been dismantled by those lightning that you know has obviously happened to it. And so one of the things, you know, there are two distinct ideas: that you're disrupted, right? In other words, something happened to stop the process, but then dismantling, when you think about being pruned, like snip, like whether that was that job or whether you just had your appendix taken out or whatever it was, there was a snip and you felt it, right? And so there's a process that God has put in place is stop the shenanigans, and then we're going to snip, right? And so as you listen to this whole idea, what happens here is that she gets disrupted by this computer, which you're going to hear is trying to understand life. Then this boyfriend that God had in mind, apparently according to the movie, was not the perfect mate for her, because what happens is the people that invented the short circuit guy, Number 5, is named Nova. They're sort of like NASA, only they're called Nova. And the head engineer for Number 5 is eventually going to fall in love with her, okay? But so God knows that he's supposed to be the one, but first we got to snip out the old boyfriend. Well, what happens, and I just have to give you this because it's a little visual, is that Number 5, he starts to try to beat on her, this old boyfriend. And when that happens, you'll hear him say, no, disassemble Stephanie. He's talking to the boyfriend. And at this point in time, he takes his laser. He's taken the boyfriend's like 1982 Trans Am apart, and the parts are all over the front yard. So it's been disassembled, right? And he's got a hold of the drive shaft, and he's about to beat the heck out of Number 5 with the thing. When all of a sudden he lets go of a laser beam, and he chops that in about 6 places. Then he melts the guy's boots to the ground. And then lasers off his belt buckle so his pants fall down. And at this point in time, we finally get the snip.
Error. Grasshopper disassemble. Reassemble.
Huh?
Reassemble.
I can't reassemble him. He squashed him. He's dead.
Dead?
Right. Dead as a doornail.
Reassemble, Stephanie. Reassemble.
I know you don't understand. But when you're dead, you're dead. It's just the way it is. Dead is forever.
Squash. Dead. Disassemble. Dead. Disassemble. Dead. No disassemble. Please escape. Disassemble, Stephanie.
I'm calling the cops. And as for you, you little pain in the neck, you better not come crawling back to me because now it's over.
So she now finds herself disassembled, not just disrupted, right? And so when you look back at the process that you're currently in, because I would almost bet money on almost anybody's life right this minute. There are things where you're in the second part of this that we'll get to next week. But there's some area of your life right now in some relationship or in something that's going on with your occupation or somewhere in your life, you're being disrupted. Somewhere else in your life, disassembled. Dead. Right? Like you're feeling that and you're experiencing it. And there's purposes within that, again, that point back to God. But as we talked about in the first show, when I look at my own life, right, that, I owned a Chrysler dealership in Knoxville, and it was a nice, great company, and God was blessing it, I thought, and he was blessing it, and all the way through, and here's the end. And then one day, the auditors came in from Chrysler Financial auditors, not just ordinary auditors. And these auditors go, "Gee, Mr. Dilmore, did you realize you have about $600,000 more stated on your checking account than you actually have in the bank?" And now that's a disruption when you all of a sudden lose $600,000. Like I was totally disrupted, right? And it wasn't long after that, maybe about 8 months before the entire Westside Chrysler Dodge Jeep had been dismantled. Snip it. It was not only my dealership, it was my house, it was all my cars, it was everything. Like it was all like, man, and financially just it was. But the beauty of the process is I go back through it, and I know now I can look back and see that God had purposes for all that. But I'm not going to talk about the restoration because I want you to feel where that is.
He said it, Andy. We knew he couldn't make it all the way through without talking about healing and restoration.
I know.
He blew it. So now we get to go there and say,
hey, I said I talk about good news now.
Yeah.
This is not a bad news station.
That's on the end.
I just don't want to steal Sam's thunder. He's coming next week, and he's got these other two words. If we talk about them a week ahead of time, I'm stuck in the disassemble.
Yeah, stay like Paul Harvey. Stay for the rest of the story next week. Come back.
Right. And here's the opportunity, right? That when you find yourself there, it's like it's said in Isaiah 12, right? If you go back to it, it says, "I will be glad because you were angry with me." In other words, that's one simple little thing right in there, but it's so profound. I will be glad.
I think that's an oxymoron. I think we've talked about that before.
Yeah, but I'm going to be glad. I'm going to be glad that this snip has just taken place.
Yeah, and a point too about that is that we're doing all this in 2-minute clips, and you're mostly hearing the disruption and dismantle. But this is things that some of these things that I've dealt with in disruption, I'm still dealing with 15, 20 years down the road, depending on how quick of a learner you are. Sometimes it's just simply, if you look in the book of James, these things I think are a test of our faith, and they take time, but the more that you stick with it and you're like, God, I'm not letting go. The circumstances may not be changing, but I'm not letting go, and I'm not bailing, because a lot of people, I think, do bail whenever God calls them disruption or dismantling. Any part of those processes that require, as you said earlier, pain, getting really what you want. And again, I used to be one where God is all about blessing and good, and that's true, but it's not like man puts on it. That I've found great blessing in finding out who he really is, not just because I'm trying to get some stuff from him, but to truly enter into maturation process and allow him to do his work.
So there's this fascinating thing I discovered actually today, which I think is profound and worth thinking about. It's just in the early part of the scripture that if you go look at the word work in Hebrew, you're going to find something fascinating, that there's about 7 different words that you could say that's work. But the first word that used for work is in Genesis 1, when God ceased from his work on the Sabbath day, right? He stopped his work. That word for work is spectacular in that you're probably a little bit familiar with the sound of it. If you're familiar with the word angel, that word in Hebrew is Malik. You might have heard that. It means messenger, right? That the word for an angel is a Malik. Well, the word for work in Genesis 1 is Malakah, which means the expression of an angel, okay? Or to express your occupation, so to speak. So if you think about it, God spoke the world into existence with message. He spoke it. They were messages. There's going to be a blade of grass. There's going to be a number 5. There's going to be a deer, and there's going to be sop with camels. You know, maybe. In other words, he spoke all this stuff in for 6 days, then he rested. And so the word for work, to some extent, is what is the message of your work? What is the message? Is it glorifying God? The interesting thing that happened to me at Westside Chrysler and continues to happen with me with my life as far as sin, and part of the reason I think he continues to disrupt me and dismantle me is that I become the message, not the messenger. And my identity becomes stuck in, oh, you're the Christian car guy, or oh, you're Westside Chrysler Dodge Jeep, or oh, you're this. And when you become the message rather than the messenger, then it's coming. Disruption.
Yeah.
Snip, snip, snip. You're gonna feel it.
We were never intended to be the message, for sure.
Right.
But the messenger, for sure.
And fascinatingly, you don't find it a lot more in the Bible as far as work, but I do want to share with you a couple other places you'll find it. Number 1, in Exodus 20, which is the 10 Commandments, it says the same thing, that you're to cease your messaging, your occupation. 6 days you shall message, but on the 7th day, no messaging. Dennis, for you and me in radio, you get the picture. However that works. But it's fascinating to think about the process and pray about it.
No texting on the Sabbath.
But the other thing is, you know, those craftsmen that were the skilled craftsmen in Exodus that made, you know, all the stuff for the tabernacle. They too were their craft left a message, right? It's really pretty cool. Danny, you look like you're.
I'm just listening.
How many minutes we got?
I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it.
Show is yours.
You're on your own, pal.
I'm tapped out. I'm done messaging.
That's right.
You labored.
You told me to rest, so you're on your own now.
Well, I'm glad you said.
It's only the second day.
It's only the second day. Yeah. And so, Grant, you know, if for in your life, you certainly, if anybody I can think of that's sitting here that has undergone a serious amount of dismantling and disrupting, you know, how do you respond to that?
I definitely thank the Lord. He gives you at times something to think about.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, Grant had a really, really horrible automobile accident when he was in his. How old were you?
19.
When you were 19. And would you say you were disrupted and dismantled?
Completely. Completely.
And given up for dead, actually, right?
Yes.
For how long?
I was 2 hours dead.
Right.
And that was a miracle.
It was. And then how long were you in the hospital afterwards?
I was in the worst type of coma for 3.5 months. out of 12 doctors, 9 said full life support system, and 3 said might be the worst type of vegetable for life.
And then you weren't able to speak for a long time, right?
No. Or walk.
Right. And so you've had to put all that stuff, right?
Yes. Actually, I was almost incompetent. I left the hospital, but I could relate that things are going to get better. There was a reason.
Don't talk about that yet, though.
Was there a reason why?
Don't go too far. I had too much IQ. I need some taken out.
Next week. Keep your powder dry.
I remember that teacher in elementary school that kept telling you can't read ahead. Robbie, you missed your call.
Elementary school. Yeah, there you go. A, B, C, D. It'll work. Yeah. Danny, you're holding your mouth like you got something to say, but apparently you don't. You just happened. Yeah. So, Terry, we'll go back to you. Disrupting in your current situation.
Yeah. Being placed in somewhere to do something that, and I'm sorry, this might be a twist from where we are, but I'm looking at it on this angle. Becoming that thing of disruption for a reason. And not wanting to be the bully or the bad guy, but being placed by God and say, just be you right here. I'll do everything else. I just need you to stand here. I'll do everything else. You have good days, bad days. You have when things look really plain and good, and you're gonna do what God says, and it won't be so good. But anyhow, like Art said, things are good because I'm keeping, like you did, focus on what's true and what's real. And I mean that's the only thing can guide and lead.
Yeah, well, you're right in the middle of it, which is kind of where you are right now.
I am.
And which is where we want to have everybody.
Don't go any further than that, buddy.
God timed it perfectly for you to come in right now. Actually, for Danny too. He's right in the middle of it, right? It's totally disrupted and dismantled. And talk about being dismantled. I mean, it won't be long. You've got some serious.
That's more like dismembered. Is the way
Right.
Yeah, major surgery where I asked them what they were going to leave in, not what they were going to take out.
Yeah, and I can remember it wasn't terribly long ago, Darren. You went through a similar dismantling of disassembly.
Well, only 10, 12 times in the last 5 years. Yeah, I mean, medically, yes. Career-wise, yes. Ministry-wise, yes.
Relationally,
yes. Yeah, all of those things. Can't wait to talk about healing and restoring next week, Robbie.
Well, you need Sam to do that. So will you join us? Meanwhile, join us at the boot camp. We'll help you feel the pain.
November the 20th through the 23rd.
Right. Go to massandjourneyradio.org. You don't want to miss that. All right. You double click the end and away we go.
That's putting too much